In semi-connected news, I read an article this week from the Financial Times that talked all about businesses start to cut advertising revenue from X as it's worried as to, quote, not be brand safe. Because of the extreme content that is on the platform. And this is in semi-linked news to the freedom of speech debate, conversation, reality that Elon is having at the moment with Brazil that we'll come on to in the next story. So if you're more interested in that, feel free to click over. But in specific news about advertising spend and what it looks like for next year for X and what that could mean for the platform, I would like to read you a couple of quotes from the Financial Times specifically. A record number of advertisers plan to pull back from X next year because of concerns over being associated with extreme content, in a new blow to Elon Musk's hopes to turn the finances of the social media group. End quote. So what this is talking about is the percentage of businesses that feel that X is a worthwhile platform to A, get return on your pounds and dollars spent on advertising, but also number two, what could be the brand reputational damage or benefit of advertising on X. And as this quote implies, and as this quote says, and there has been quite a lot of concern around the extremist content on X, is that going to hurt Elon's chance of advertising? You know, we saw this in the adpocalypse from a couple of years ago with YouTube, where it was alleged that, you know, your big brands, your Coca-Colas, your Nikes, etc., their ads were going against quote unquote terrorist videos or other very dicey content on YouTube, and YouTube stamped it out. And the only reason why YouTube was able or went out of its way to stamp it out was because advertisers pulled back. Will we see a reality? Will we see a about turn potentially on some of Elon's views? Because as I've looked into his policies on removing accounts and not removing accounts, it seems to be rather grey in the respect to sometimes it's freedom of speech and that's why you're staying here, other times it's actually I just don't like you so you're not going to be on my platform. Is that fair? And this is something we're going to talk about a little bit more in next week's show, about, you know, some of the the non-consistencies, you could say, with Elon's approach regarding X at the moment. Also, so this is also another reason why I think we've seen Elon specifically leaning into some of those other features. He's really leaning into that everything app kind of conversation that we mentioned in last week's show, but also that's why he started Twitter Blue. That's why he started the Premium Plus reality, or the Premium Plus benefits that, you know, X users can benefit from, because they are basically going to subsidize or potentially replace advertising revenue from the platform. And as a business owner who started using X for this show as well, I've also now been getting pushed basically advertising credit bundles related to advertising on X. So clearly there is a push by X to get people to still talk, still advertise, still create content. And I know that he is developing plans to pay people to go exclusively on X. Now, would he look at maybe talking to people or adding that deal or having that deal for people who he politically agrees with? Perhaps. Would he potentially look for quite controversial figures deliberately for those deals or for that as a promotional tool? Because notoriously known for many years in marketing is that if you are controversial, quote unquote controversial, then of course you can gain a lot of attention because people are going to be outraged in what you say. Is that a strategy he would use? Is that a strategy he may use? We don't know, of course, but it does look like potentially in 2025 that X could be in some financial difficulty, right? Is this actually more of a sign around the realities of the economic world at the moment? Is it people are pulling back on advertisers? Maybe. Maybe not. These are some things to think about when it's, when we're looking at a story that just says that X is specifically, quote unquote, perceived as non-brand safe, or not safe for a brand to potentially be affiliated with. Another quote specifically to give you some context on the safety point quote, advertisers' trust in the platform has plunged in the past year to just 4% of marketers saying that advertising on X was, quote, brand safe, compared to a 39% for Google, reflecting widespread concerns, end quote. So there is clearly in this survey that the Financial Times is referring to or pointing to, there is clearly a level of concern within marketers. However, after doing research, because I did question, was it, are people pulling back on advertising as a whole? Because that could be a reason. That could be a reason why X is potentially seeing a loss in, advertising spend or money being made from advertising on the platform. And I found a couple of interesting bits in Pacific, and things to consider about these stats is the majority of the stat will be from larger businesses who spend a lot more money. So it will be skewed towards your larger businesses because they will spend a large percentage of that pool of money, so they will have a larger percentage. Specifically, it doesn't break it down here, unfortunately, but it is a growing industry still. And to quote, a recent study said that the market value of advertising in the UK is expected to be 27.74 billion in 2027, with the potential growth rate to be 10% from 10.4.5% from 23-24. And again, so this would be the annual growth rate across e-commerce as well, would be around 10.5%, thanks to the rise in e-commerce and mobile device usage of shopping and information access. And on a more global front as well, another finding shows $870 billion would likely be spent by 2027 worldwide. So clearly we've got like 27 billion being spent in the UK on advertising, and then you've got 870 billion across the world. So clearly there's lots of money still being thrown into advertising. And the honest truth is probably because advertising works when done correctly. Now, can we optimize what we're doing? Can we specifically look at, those platforms? And that might be the shift, right? So it'll be interesting to see how Elon does, quote unquote, fix this financial concern or financial worry that X is in at the moment. Because as I've already alluded to and as I've already reported, there is a conversation at the moment in advertising circles and advertising surveys in the bigger advertising companies about, is X a safe platform for their clients and their brands that they advertise with to put their money and put their dollars and put their pounds for that advertising spend. So with X being potentially perceived as non-brand safe, where should a business put their advertising money, advertising spend? There was a part of this Financial Times article that will be linked down below in the source notes. I did talk about the fact that at the moment, one of the most innovative platforms is actually TikTok from an advertising point of view, but also the most trustworthy ad platform seems to be becoming YouTube, which might lean into the previous story where we talked about the fact that YouTube is gaining in streaming percentage on television. So is YouTube becoming the new mainstream ad platform where you'll be served an ad followed by the content you're actually wanting to watch? And or do we have more control with things like a YouTube Premium where you can pay in to basically not have any ads? So that is going to cover up that story. But if you have an opinion, have a thought, have some things to consider, do let me know in the comment section down below on where potentially you're looking to spend your money when it comes to advertising, or where your clients are potentially looking to spend their money in 2020, the rest of 2024, but into 2025 as